Hello and welcome back to Her Becoming episode 20. Y'all, do you know how rare it is to make it to 20 episodes as a podcaster? I know it doesn't sound like that much to me. I'm like 20 down, but so many more to go. It feels like we're just getting started here. But I was looking up the statistics about this, and the reality is 90% of people who start podcasts quit before 10 episodes. And then of that 10% that continues, 90% of those people quit before the 20th episode. So we are defying all odds here. And clearly, I'm in it for the long haul. At least that is my motive and my goal. So thank you. If you are a day one listener, if you have listened to all 20 episodes, thank you from the bottom of my heart. It truly means the world. If you are new, I'm so happy that you're here. If you listen to some episodes and not all of them, I am so happy that you are here and that you feel good picking episodes and getting what you need from this show. It just really sends my heart like over the moon to have this community and to know that y'all have been with me from the ground up. Because again, I still feel like I'm just getting started. This brand and this podcast is going to grow. It is going to become big. That is not necessarily why I'm doing it, but it is just a gut feeling that I have because I know that so many people need this. And so if you've been here since the beginning, you just wait, and I have so much more in store for you. So today we have arrived at part 3 of our reset series. Part 3 of our reset, we are going to be diving into emotional and spiritual health today. But before we do that, I want to kind of just get grounded and set into the intention of the reset series. I know I had a hell of a 3 weeks since starting this series, and I'm sure you have too. So let's just get back to the purpose of this series and do a bit of a check-in here. So I created the reset to help you, to help us, to help me get life back on track in this really potent season of Virgo season, back to school season, transitioning into fall next week. There are so many things happening that signal to our bodies and our minds that it's sort of time to get back into action and get back on track. So I want you to start today by just checking in with yourself, especially if you have listened to each part of the reset so far. How are you feeling? What has stuck with you? What areas of your life have you started to nurture and notice more? Just take a second, maybe even close your eyes here. Take a deep breath. And just thank yourself for everything that you have already done. Especially if it feels like you haven't done enough and you want to beat yourself up, because that is your instinct, is to tell yourself that you wish you were further along in this and in everything. Just take a moment in gratitude. Because if you are here listening to part 3 of the reset, that to me already shows that you are committed to the work. The work might not look perfectly. It won't look perfectly. If it does, you're lying. But you are here, you are listening, and you are taking it in. And if you are taking small intentional actions along the way, changing your thoughts along the way, you are doing incredible work. So I want to start by just giving you flowers for being here and for being committed to becoming the person that you want to be. Okay, so I was in my car driving earlier today, and I was like, I haven't really given them an update on my life. The last few episodes, the last probably 10 episodes, I've really just dove headfirst into the content of the episode. And so today I want to start by just giving you an update on how I'm doing, what I've been up to, my own personal reset, and let this be a little bit more playful and a little bit less sculpted than our other episodes have been. My intention for not sharing a ton about my personal life is because this show is really dedicated to helping you and supporting you. But I also know that sharing where I'm at is going to increase our connection. And connection is going to be a big theme, spoiler alert, of our episode today. And it's really important. Like, I want to feel like I'm your friend. A lot of us are friends in real life, but if you're listening to this and you've never met me, I want you to feel like you know me. I want to be your podcast bestie. So let's catch up a bit, shall we? So this summer, I was out and about. I took what I've called my single summer tour. I went on 8 trips this summer between June, July, August, and September. 8 trips. And it was the most fun summer I have ever had. I didn't have any expectations going into this summer because, as you know, I thought I was going to be married. I thought I was getting married in April. And so my mind wasn't even trying to plan some extravagant summer after that. I was just focused on the wedding. And so what I did after the breakup with intention was just start saying yes to everything that came my way and felt good. And so I visited friends in new cities. I went to one of my best friend's bachelorette and her wedding. I went to California. Like, half of those trips, I think, were to California. I went to an Olivia Dean concert. I went to visit and spend time with my family. I took advantage of my remote job by working remote in new places. And it was so healing to get out of my normal routine. I think 8 trips is more trips than I've taken in a single year over the past 4 years. It was truly crazy. I felt like over these last 3 months, I was never home. It was rare for me to be home 2 weekends in a row. And so now I'm really grateful and looking forward to being home for the next month. One whole month, I know. But it just felt so refreshing not having anyone to check for me, not having to coordinate with anyone else's schedule, being able to spend time with my friends and take spontaneous last minute trips and just buy the freaking flight because I could. It was such a blessing. And so my biggest update is I just really had the most fun summer of my life. I really feel so full. It was so healing. Traveling is always healing because you get to really nurture connections, you get to see new places, you discover more about yourself. But traveling after a breakup is especially healing because it really gets you out of your routine and helps you reset. The intention of this series, I feel like traveling really set me up for this reset because I was able to shake up my day to day, create new habits, get out of my habits, and just get myself into a more spontaneous, fun, and flowy and a really feminine energy that I had been missing for so long. So that's my biggest update. I'm still working my full-time job, enjoying that, working remote, doing that on top of this podcast and building my coaching business has been a real challenge for me. I'm not going to lie. Finding the time to record this podcast amidst those 8 trips, work a full-time job, which has been really busy these last couple of months, on top of finishing school and editing this podcast and creating content to market this podcast and stay on top of my own self-care. It has been a lot. And so again, I think for me, this reset came at a perfect time because I really do need to look at my own routines, my own habits, and start to button things up in some places so that I can create more space for what I really love to do, which is this podcast and marketing this podcast and growing this podcast. I think for me, that's somewhere that I really want to nurture on top of moving my body more, getting my step count up. Those things are, of course, super important to me. But my overwhelm these last couple of weeks specifically, I also got really sick last week, so that threw me for a loop. But the amount of overwhelm that I've experienced lately has really shed light on the fact that something has got to give with my time management, probably scrolling less, if I'm being honest. And so that's something within my own personal journey that I'm going to be working on. A fun update for you guys is that I have been exploring dating again. I'm sure this will be its own podcast episode because I know you guys want all the tea, you want to know everything. It's been so fun and so flirty and so playful, and I'm really just getting myself back out there, getting my feet wet, and learning what I like, what I don't like, taking my past very traumatic experience and helping that shape how I go about this process. And as someone that hasn't dated in almost my entire 20s, it's been, I don't think people tell you how much of a personal development journey dating is. Again, full episode on this to come, but as I explore connections, I am looking into a mirror and learning so much about myself. So that has been really fun. I'm just learning how to live life on my own terms, you guys. I think that's the best update I can give you. I am focused on getting my money right. I am focused on my career. I am focused on my business. I am focused on taking care of myself holistically and improving my health and my education and my purpose and building this brand. And overall, things feel really good. Am I overwhelmed sometimes? Yes, because I'm doing the absolute most pretty much always. But it is such a blessing to be overwhelmed with the things that you desire and the things that you want. And that's really where I've been existing lately is yes, I am a bit overwhelmed, but I am also so full. And I would not sacrifice this podcast, my brand, the work that gives me so much purpose. I would not release that in the name of not being overwhelmed because it is the very thing that keeps my cup full and really gives me meaning and purpose. And I can see where it's going. I just need more time to get there. So that's my life right now in a bit of a nutshell. And I want to circle that conversation back to the reset. In part one, I offered up the prompt. If I imagine my future self at the end of this year, what would she thank me for starting or stopping right now? I just want to bring that back as part of our check-in, part of this update. Again, I know for myself that will be making more space for my business and my brand. And I'm also curious, has your answer shifted in these last few weeks since you heard that prompt? Has something else come for you? Do you want to explore a different part of the woman you're becoming or a different part of your health? Last week, we had a really fun episode. I could talk all things mindset, psychology, mental health for hours and hours. The biggest takeaway from last week was your thoughts shape your beliefs shape your actions, and your actions shape your reality. So, again, if you're imagining your future self at the end of this year, what is she going to thank you for starting and stopping? That's going to come back to your thoughts, creating new beliefs, creating new actions, and creating the reality. That was a really important episode. So if you did not listen to episode 19, which was part 2, please go back and do so. It was so important. And again, just foundational to this reset because your mind is where your thoughts live, and having an understanding of that will really improve your mental health. And then that leads us into today's conversation, which is part 3 of the reset, all about emotional and spiritual wellness. I believe your emotional and your spiritual health is where you find joy, meaning, and connection. That's what we're focusing on today is joy, meaning, and connection as part of this reset. And as I was planning this episode this week, the word connection was really sticking out to me. I truly believe that an essential part of your emotional health and your spiritual health are the connections that you have in your life. So today we're going to break down 3 different types of connection that directly impact your emotional and spiritual well-being and are also crucial parts of this reset journey. The first type of connection that is essential to your emotional and spiritual well-being is your self-connection. This should come as no surprise to anyone. We talk a lot about going inward on this podcast. That is where the work happens. Self-connection is crucial to your emotional, spiritual well-being, and therefore your sense of joy, your sense of purpose, your sense of connection. So I first want to ask you, are you someone who struggles with spending time alone? Are you someone who struggles with spending time in silence? Do you find yourself gravitating towards background noise in the form of music, TV, podcasts, when you're doing mundane things around the house or going for walks? Do you find yourself needing to speak to fill the silence in the room? What does it feel like for you to be left in your own thoughts? Solitude. Solitude is incredibly important in building self-connection because self-connection happens when you're able to spend time alone, meaningful time alone. This is when we get a chance to do self-inquiry and notice what thoughts are surfacing for us, what emotions are surfacing as a result of those thoughts. I am someone who loves spending time alone. About 50% of the time that I'm in the car driving, I don't have anything playing. It's just silent. When I take Bentley for a walk, a lot of the time, just silent. And I'm finding now, especially with being single, I'm really leaning into like, oh, what do I like to do when I'm just alone with my own thoughts, when I'm cooking, when I'm cleaning? There is such a sense of self-love that has been created in my solitude because I approach it with such intention. And what I'm finding lately is that is not the case for everyone. A lot of people struggle with spending time alone. And that's okay. That's normal. If that's you, there's no shame, there's no judgment. We're going to talk about it, but there's no shame and judgment. If it's hard for you to be alone without stimulation, that's because you have been conditioned to live in this overstimulated society. You are conditioned to consume so much media, so much content, social media constantly, news constantly, noise constantly. It's coming at you from every direction. So, of course, when you're living in that type of world, being alone with your thoughts can feel scary because it feels like something is missing. So, today, I really want you, if you are someone that struggles with that, to simply acknowledge it, because being able to sit in solitude and sit in silence and really be with your inner self, your intuition, is crucial to your happiness and to your journey of becoming. People who are able to sit with themselves are less likely to seek external validation as a source of happiness. When you are able to sit with yourself and experience true solitude, you really learn how to validate yourself from within, how to seek happiness from within, instead of looking outside of yourself to check all of those boxes and keep your cup full. And when I talk about solitude, I want to differentiate it from loneliness, which we'll talk about later in the episode. Solitude is really your ability to be with yourself at peace. It doesn't feel like torture, it doesn't feel like punishment. It feels peaceful. And I want that for you. I want you to be able to have you time because it is essential to connecting to that inner knowing and really making space to hear your intuition. We've talked about this a lot in previous episodes with self-inquiry. Having the ability to ask and honestly answer questions with yourself, not relying on other people to pull information out of you. Solitude is key for self-connection, and self-connection is critical for your emotional and spiritual well-being because you cannot rely on the people in your life, the places in your life, the things in your life, the material items in your life to be 100% of your happiness. You can't, because all of those things are fleeting. They come and they go. Yes, it's completely natural for those things to make us happy and bring us joy, of course. But true joy that doesn't waver is going to come from within. And I truly believe that for me, learning how to be in solitude is probably the reason I was able to really go through this healing journey after the breakup with so much grace. Ugly days, of course. Terrible days, of course. but I really feel so much strength and so much peace with where I'm at. And that comes from my own deep self-connection that I have spent years nurturing. And so I'm going to leave you with a self-connection challenge. The next time you go for a walk, I want you to do it without your headphones. Just go for the walk. Listen to nature, listen to your own thoughts, whatever it is. And if you can leave your phone zipped in your fanny pack or just out of reach, do that too. Just you and your mind. And see how that feels. You might like it. You probably will like it. It could feel really foreign and weird, but just try it. And if you're someone that already does that, maybe try something else. Try a quiet drive or try cooking dinner in complete silence. And again, the point here is just to notice how that feels for you. Okay, the second type of connection that we are going to talk about in relation to your emotional and spiritual health is connection to a higher power. I know this can be a touchy subject with religion and spirituality, etc. I want to make it very clear. I believe that having a higher power is more important than what that higher power is. I am not here to tell you what religion is the best religion, to tell you what you should be doing or what you should be reading. That is not my intention. It is just so important that you have some sort of connection to a higher power. For me, it's God, and it's also universe. It might be source. It might be a different type of God. That is completely up to you. I believe in all religions. I don't believe that one is best. Again, not what I'm here to do, not my intention. I do know from a health standpoint that having a spiritual connection to a higher power quite literally improves your health. Let me say that in another way. There are health benefits associated with having a strong spiritual connection. For example, in blue zones, which are the healthiest, longest living communities, every single one of them had some form of spiritual practice or faith-based community. The reason this has a direct impact on your health is because having purpose, we've talked about this before, having a purpose directly impacts your health because it gives you something to live for. It gives you meaning. This is similar. Your belief in something greater than yourself gives your life more meaning. It also builds community, whether that community comes from a church or maybe a spiritual wellness community. I am part of Manifest House, which is a collective and soul care community for women of color. Oh my gosh, I will put the link in the show notes. That is a community that gives me purpose and that connects me to my own unique higher power. There's ancestral connection. There's so many things here, and I'm not going to dive too deep on this because I am not by any means quoting myself as an expert. I just really want to make it clear that having a higher power that you can connect to is important. And if you're not interested in that and you don't aspire to have that, that is fine. I would want you to ask yourself why. Maybe what's blocking you? What are you casting judgments on about yourself or others or maybe your childhood? And I would encourage you to explore that. However, again, for me, it's not about what it is, it's about having it. And so for me, my connection with God is going to look different than your connection with God. It is going to be different. I am someone who believes that I can pray to God and have crystals and pray to my ancestors and make herbal concoctions and do yoga. And it's okay. They can all coexist because they are all my unique beliefs in creating my unique journey and my purpose. So I am not someone that is going to put myself in a box when it comes to spirituality and religion, but I am someone that is going to acknowledge the power in having those connections. I know for me, building a connection with God and stepping further into my spiritual practices has done wonders for my healing. And it looks very unique, and I'd be happy to share that on another episode. But today, I just want to make this very clear. Also, given the climate that we're currently in, I want to make it very clear that I'm not in any way referring to Christian nationalism or forcing religion onto people and pushing Christianity as this like best and only version. That is not my approach with this. I hope that if you know me, you know that very clear. I think Christian nationalism is extremely dangerous to our society. So I will leave that there. It's a big conversation, but I do feel like it was important to mention today as it does have an impact on the way you go about life and finding meaning and finding connection. The final type of connection that we will touch on in relation to your emotional and spiritual health is social connections. When people talk about health, we automatically assume they're talking about diet and exercise, maybe even sleep. But did you know that your social relationships have an immense impact on your health too? Immense impact. I'm going to drop a couple statistics here because this stuff is actually mind-blowing. Poor social relationships have been associated with a 29% increased risk of heart disease and a 32% increased risk of stroke. Adults who are socially isolated or lonely have a significantly higher risk of all-cause mortality, 46% higher risk. So what this data is telling us is that having strong, meaningful social connections literally improves your health, reduces your risk of these chronic diseases and even all-cause mortality. On this podcast, we talk a ton about the quality of your relationships, and this is a huge reason why. Your social connections can literally shape your health. Loneliness is dangerous. I'm not talking about, I saw this, quick sidebar. I saw this quote when I was first going through my breakup that said, we should really rename the male loneliness epidemic into the male consequences epidemic. Amen. Can I get an amen? That's not what I'm talking about. But there is a true loneliness epidemic happening in our world right now. And I think the phones are the problem. That is just my personal take. I think the phones are the problem. With the rise of social media and screens, the loneliness epidemic is so real. We spend so much time online that people quite literally forget to have in-person connections. And there's also this sense of fake connection that is created online, and it is causing people to not get the amount of real life connections that they need. Spending time with the people that you love is so important to your overall health. People who can really pour into your life, people who have reciprocal relationships with you. This is crucial, y'all. And when we think about the reset, this is a fantastic opportunity for you to really take inventory on the people in your life. You can even ask yourself, who are the people in my life that help fill my cup? And who are the people in my life that are taking away from my cup? Because you probably have both in your life right now, and focusing on the people that help keep your cup full are the type of connections that I'm talking about. Recently, someone asked me what the best part of my life is, and without hesitation, in a millisecond, I said, it's the people. It's easily my village, my community, my family, my friends. It's the people. And I felt so incredibly blessed to have that be the first thing that felt honest and true and popped into my mind, because I know that's not the case for everyone. I feel so lucky to have the people in my life that I have because they make my life such a beautiful place to be. And the reason that I share that is because that's possible for you too. If you are someone that is struggling to find community, maybe you moved to a new city, or maybe you started a new job, or maybe your schedule has changed and your relationships have drifted, know that all of that is normal and all of that is okay. And you can always form new connections, and you can always reconnect with people that may have drifted that are important to you. Take this opportunity as part of the reset to take that inventory, to look at your relationships and to understand what's missing. I say this quote often, nothing is missing. And that is true when we are thinking of innately what we need and what we desire. Nothing is missing. But when it comes to your social connections, is there something that might be missing that you can't find within yourself, right? Because social connections with other people do require those other people. Solitude is amazing, and that's why I wanted to differentiate solitude from loneliness, because solitude is important when it's bringing us peace and when it's intentional. But we also need to be very careful of sitting in loneliness. We need other people to survive. And that's why this is such a crucial part of your overall health. And again, the rise of screens and social media, it makes it hard. I am someone, I admit, I am looking at a screen most of the day. Between my work laptop, working from home, looking at my phone all day, in between calls and texting people and catching up on social media, to my business laptop, to planning this podcast, I am constantly looking at screens. And sometimes it gets to the point where I forget that I've just been looking at a screen all day and I haven't talked to a human. And it can be scary. And so I really set aside the intentional time for connections, to see family, to see friends. Pickleball has been huge. Starting tennis lessons has been huge. Getting outside and playing is an integral part of my social health. And so I have another challenge for you here for the reset, because we are putting ourselves out there, we are switching things up in our lives, and we are getting back on track. I want you to close your eyes. And I want you to think of someone who you haven't seen or spoken to in quite some time and that you miss dearly. Just allowing whoever comes up for you to be your honest truth today. And I want to challenge you to reach out to that person. Send them a text, give them a call, send them a voice note, my personal favorite, and schedule time if you're in the same city to get together to grab lunch. Or if they're not in your same city, schedule a FaceTime date to catch up. Social connection is so important, and things drift. We go through seasons, things change, but the loneliness epidemic is real and it does have detrimental effects on your overall health. So I am really encouraging you to reset your social life, to reset your connections, and to have a little more fun, because why the hell not? That brings us to the end of today's episode. To recap, connection is an essential part of our emotional and spiritual health. And our emotional and spiritual health really sets the foundation for the amount of joy and purpose and meaning that we experience in our lives. These things really do impact our health and our longevity. And it's really important to have connection to yourself, to get comfortable with solitude, to be able to practice self-inquiry, and to get to know the woman you're becoming. It's really important to connect to a higher power, to give your life that meaning, and to strive to connecting to something that's bigger than yourself. And it is incredibly important to surround yourself with people that fill your cup and to have meaningful relationships, friendships, family, work, building community throughout hobbies, and finding shared things that bring joy into your life. So today wasn't about resetting and building new habits. It was about resetting and building real connection and taking inventory on where connection might be lacking in your life right now and where you can find it. Because authentic connection really helps us get back into our bodies and into relationships that truly support the woman that we're becoming. But it does start with your connection to yourself. That's all for today. Next week, we will be tackling physical well-being and physical health. I cannot wait to dive in with you. Until then, be well.